to you too.
Hello, hello. We're live. Hi, Shambhavi.
Hi, Keesha. Hi to everyone watching us.
Hello, I think Chandan is watching us. Hello, Chandan. Nice to see you here.
Hi, Chandan.
English language, so we thought we would help all our viewers with it. So if you have any doubts about any idioms or sayings, please put them in the chat and we'll help you solve them. And with that, I think we have Himanshu who has joined us.
Hi.
And Raj. So hello. Welcome. We're so excited to do this live on another Friday. Okay. Soumya says hello. Rishi says hello.
Hope I'm audible clearly.
Yes, you're kind of going in and out a little bit, but other than that, clear. Okay, so since we were going to talk about idioms, I think the hardest part about that is we find it tough to actually use them in our day-to-day life. You know, we learn them, we know about them, and then we find it a little difficult to actually use it in our everyday life. So we thought we would talk about that. So if you could share with us, Shambhavi, any of the idioms that you use in your everyday life, like you use them often.
Okay, so there are so many. I actually use a lot of idioms, and I know that whoever has taken a session with me has come across most of these, because I personally use a lot of idioms, and I want people to use it, because that's how you can differentiate your speech with someone who's a very basic English speaker. So okay, so one of my favorite idioms has to be, and this is something that I used to use a lot in my sessions, is, so just so that the learners also get to know how to use it and stuff. So this is the most used idiom by me, and it is to turn a blind eye. So Keesha, do you want to give it a try? What do you think? I mean, of course, you know what it means, but would you like to tell our viewers what it means?
Yeah, could you repeat?
Okay, it's to turn a blind eye. Okay, I think there's an internet issue at my end.
No problem. No, don't worry about it. So it's to basically ignore something, to avoid something, and even though it's there, you choose not to see it. So you purposely ignore something.
Yeah. So every time that my learners would make a mistake, not every time. So I would obviously correct them, because that's what we stand for. But sometimes I would turn a blind eye, because I don't want to overwhelm them with corrections.
Right.
So that's how we use this idiom, to turn a blind eye.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a great one. Yeah, we have another question from Himanshu, which is, what is the meaning of the idiom go for a toss? What does it mean, go for a toss?
Okay. Keesha, would you like to answer that, or do you want me to take that up?
No,
it actually has a very, okay. To go for a toss, again, it means to be ignored, forgotten, or to be lost. So that's what we mean. Would you like to put it in a sentence, Keesha?
Yep. When we forgot our wallets at home and left for the market, everything went for a toss. So basically, when things get messy, when everything goes wrong, so that's what
Yeah, that's how we use it. Yes.
Yeah.
Chandan Sa is asking call in.
Call in, to call in. It basically means to call. It,
Yeah, that's the. I didn't know it was an idiom. It's just, it's a literal thing, right?
yep, yep. Sometimes we get confused between phrasal verbs and idioms. They're very similar and sometimes they can overlap. But yeah, yeah. So
And
that's true.
also, when you're using an idiom, it's also very important to know the context that you're using it in. So,
Right.
call in could be used in a lot of contexts. So, until we know the context, we cannot tell you how
What it
exactly you can use it in your
true,
sentence.
true. Many times I think the context is so much more important than the meaning.
Absolutely.
Because the context will help you understand when to use it. For example, on the go and on the run, both of them very similar. Both of them means constantly moving, moving about. On the go is usually a more positive um, term, while on the run is used for fugitives, people who are running away from the law, and it has a more negative kind
Connotation.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It does. So it again, so the meaning of both would be the same: to travel a lot, to move around a lot, to go from one place to another.
Yeah.
But on the go is used for business people. Like she's always on the go. Her team is always on the go. So
Yeah.
it means it's constantly working. So yeah, so there's that um, difference.
Another idiom with go is go all out, which is Himanshu's question.
Yeah,
Oh my God, I just realized there are so many idioms that start with the word go.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
to go all out is just basically giving your all to a task or whatever you're doing. So Clapingo always goes out of the way to make the learners
Yes,
as good speakers, as polished speakers as possible.
true.
That's
Yeah,
how
we go all out. We always go all out. So yeah,
it
it
is.
means to give it your
Yeah,
all.
putting in a lot of effort. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically just that. Right. Keesha, do you have an idiom in mind that we could share with them?
Go and on the run. There's also one more that's on the road, which also means that you're traveling, you're away from home or your usual place of business. So there's on the road. And another one like that, which also starts with on, but this is different. This isn't about moving around. It's on the dot. And this is something that you will hear a lot. I want you here at 8 o'clock on the dot. The exam starts at 9 a.m. on the dot. So it means right on time or at that time, something will begin. So yeah, so you're right. Like go on, they have a lot of different idioms
Yes.
that start with those
And
words.
it might get confusing if you don't practice them enough.
True.
So all of these, they sound very similar to each other. And you might get confused if you don't know the correct context, if you don't know the correct ways to use it. And even if you do, if you don't practice it enough, you might get very confused. Yeah. Okay. Another idiom that I've been coming across a lot recently is to cost an arm and a leg. Anyone who's watching, would you like to guess what it means to cost an arm and a leg?
Yeah, to cost, and I don't think we have that, but let's try it. There's a hint to cost, so there's a hint there. Yeah, so we'll wait for answers, but and until we get answers for that, we have some hellos to give out because we have lots of different people. We have Gokul saying hello. We have Anusha who's saying hello.
Saurabh,
Yes,
Virej.
we have, yeah. We have a question from Learn With Me. I think it's your call, ma'am. What does that mean? It's your call.
You decide. As simple as that.
Yeah, it's
You
your,
need to take, yeah, whatever you say.
yes,
I'll go with
it's your decision.
yeah.
It's for you to decide what to do. So it's your call. That's what it means. That's how you can say this. And usually it's not used in a sentence. It's usually used just, it's your call.
Yeah, just the phrase. Yeah.
Rarely is it used like, okay, it was her call, or it was his call, it was their call. Many times when you're having an actual conversation and using it, you would say that, oh, do you want to go for this movie or this movie? And you'd be like, oh, it's your call. So yeah, we've got some answers. We got an answer from Azhar that it means it's very expensive. To cost an arm and a leg is
absolutely on point. Yes, it means something that's very expensive. So I've heard a lot of people say, and actually you can use it in your day-to-day lives because everything is very expensive.
Right.
Yeah. So fuel these days costs an arm and a leg.
Yep, an iPhone always costs an arm and a leg. It gets more expensive every time, and then it starts costing more limbs.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Himanshu had a question up, Keesha.
I was just covering Ashraf's question. What does the phrase to call someone over mean? That's his question.
Okay. So to call someone over is basically just that. It's not really an idiom. It's quite literal. Yeah, it's just like come over. It's
yeah. To call someone over to your house is the entire thing, but is what it's supposed to mean. But we say, I call them over, and that will help the other person understand that you call them home or you call them over to your house. So you don't have to say the full thing. I think you were talking about Himanshu's question. On that front, let's discuss Himanshu's question.
Yes.
He is asking us for the meaning of on that front.
On that front. Wow, that's okay. So that's an idiom that I've not heard of quite a lot. Keesha, would you like to take this up?
So, on that front is basically to say on that note, it means the similar thing, that on that note, let's take a break. On that front, there hasn't been much progress. So means on that particular item.
Yeah. I cannot see you.
Say on that front, we've been doing very well. We've seen so many new requests about that. So you could say that. So on that front, basically.
Yeah. So also on that note is a good substitute for that, I think. And it's also a more commonly used idiom on that note. So there's that. Someone asked, what is the difference between watch, see, and look? We have a video up on our channel explaining this in detail.
Yeah.
So make sure you watch, you look for the video, you watch it, like, share, and subscribe. Someone else asked, and for an interview in English, how can I prepare? Again, we have a live specifically for this one. Divyam and I did that one, and we gave out almost all the interview tips and tricks that we knew that we use. So make sure you explore the channel a little bit and like the video if it's useful to you. And yeah, on that front, let's move on.
Well done. We have another question from Chandan, beat around the bush. Beat around the bush is this is not, you can't understand it from the words. It's not very literal. The meaning.
It's not literal at all.
At all.
Yeah, we cannot just go beating around a bush.
Yeah. Beat around the bush basically means that you don't get to the point right away. You don't start talking about the topic at hand right away. You go round and round in circles. You say other things. You say something else, but you're not talking about what you want. Say, for example, you want to ask for leave, and you tell your boss, I've been working very hard and I'm so happy I have you as a boss. You're so nice to me. The company is doing so well. You say all these other things, but you aren't saying that, hey,
Really?
I need it this weekend because I'm busy, anything like that. So your boss would say, hey, stop beating around the bush and tell me what you need. You need a leave, do you need a raise, what do you want? So
It's actually idiom that my brother used a lot with me, because whenever I had to ask something from him, I would just beat around the bush. So it just be like, okay, shut up and tell me what exactly do you want.
true.
Uh, all right. Do we have any more questions? I cannot see any. Yeah, okay. Other than that, versus apart from that, it's the same, Sam. Um, you can
Yeah,
substitute one for the other. They're
true.
used the same way in the same context.
Yeah. Little one slight difference would be when you want to specify that something is completely different from that. So like that's when you would say apart from this. So like you don't want this to be a part of the rest of your discussion. So in that, if you're trying to be more specific, then sometimes apart is used. They're very similar. They can be used interchangeably for sure. Specify something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Another idiom that just crossed my mind is something that I just heard 10 minutes ago. So I had gone out to buy some grocery myself, and one of my friends met me on my way, and he's like, "Where have you been? I only see you once in a blue moon." Any guesses as to what once in a blue moon means? Just waiting for responses for a while, and then we can.
Sorry, I think I lost you for a little bit. Like my internet just went away for a little bit. So I'm back.
Yeah.
I switched networks. I think we had a question before I left was from Himanshu, difference between alongside and along with. Have you answered that already or should we answer?
We should answer that. I was a little confused as to what's happening because I couldn't see you.
Yeah, sorry. I switched networks. Something happened. So clearly not a good network day for either of us.
Right.
So alongside is and along with is usually used with for people or for something like that, or you could say along with biryani we usually have raita. So
Yeah.
it's used for things like that. And you don't say alongside. Side is a little different in the way it is used. You wouldn't use that for food or dishes or things that go with one another. So alongside this discussion, let's also discuss, say for example, let's discuss quotes or let's discuss proverbs. If I said along with idioms, alongside idioms, let's discuss proverbs. So it means parallelly at the same time. And along with means one is with the other, they go together. So little different, but similar in
Yeah.
that.
They can be used in similar contexts. Again, you need to practice it. in your conversations to know which goes best with what.
True.
So Chandan answered my question, I think, but he might just be complimenting us and telling us he's meeting us after a long time. But I had asked, what do you think meeting once in a blue moon means? And he said meeting after a long time, which was absolutely on point. So
Yeah.
it means meeting after a long time, or once in a blue moon is essentially something that doesn't happen very often. So
True.
something that's very
Rare.
unfrequent.
Yeah, rare. Yeah, not usual. It's that's what it's like, right?
So like
So,
yeah.
yep, got you. So it's basically, it means something that is rare, doesn't happen very often. It happens very, like, it's almost like it never happens. So like, how often have you or me seen a blue moon in our
Yeah.
lifetime? So almost like it never happened. So once in a blue moon, just maybe he shows up for a plan, like if you're talking about a friend. So you could say something like that. So basically, that's one. And we have a few more questions from Ashraf, who's asked us, there you go and here you go. What is the difference between them? Right?
That's a good question. And okay, before that, Mohammed Inamul, hi, I'm good. How are you? So nice of him.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's answer this question of Ashraf. So there you go and here you go. The difference quite literally is the there and the here. So say, for example, I hand you this pen. I'll be like, here you go, you needed a pen, here you go. And there you go is like when you're, mostly when you're trying to prove a point. Like, there you go, see, I told you she didn't attend school yesterday. Or there you go, I told you XYZ thing happened. So there you go is used a lot of times to prove a point. Here you go can also be used to prove a point, but it's used more to like say things like, okay, here you go, take this pen, here you go, take these glasses, things like that. That's how you would use them differently.
Like mostly it's in the context of an object or something that's abstract.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Again, they can be used interchangeably.
True. But depends again on the
English is a complicated.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you haven't already and you're watching this live, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it later, please subscribe to the channel if you found something that you can use. We do this every Friday with different topics to help you improve your English. So please like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends who are also trying to improve their English. So please do that. And those are a couple of things. So we're going to take a couple of more questions before we wrap up. And the question we have from Ranjan is to wrap your head around something, to wrap your head around. What does that mean? Sorry, yeah. So I was just talking about what does to wrap your head around mean? That was Ranjan's question. To wrap your head around something is that when there's something that is, do you want to try it?
Yes.
While we have you.
Yes. I'm just trying to figure out my internet. It's going completely haywire. But yeah. To wrap your head around is something. It's just that you understand or accept something. So, okay, I had wrapped my head around what happened what happened at college today. It's just something. Yeah. It's
but
just
there's a lot of information. When it's very overwhelming, it can either be a lot of information that is very good, like happy news, very good news, or it could be very sad news, or it could be scary news, or it could be upsetting news. It could be any type of news, but there's so much of it, there's so much information that you have to wrap your head around. That means you have to really understand it. like figure out what is happening and then make decisions. So that's what to wrap your head around how it
It's
could be
also one
used.
of
Sorry?
it's also one of the very few idioms that could be, you can remember it because it's a little literal.
Yeah.
Wrap your head around is used also like it's quite literal in that way. You just need to, just wrap your mind around
Yes, correct. You're
a particular
absolutely right.
event or a particular.
Yeah.
Right.
Chandan says to burn the candle at both ends. I'm going to give you another one that means the exact same thing. It's to bite off more than you can chew. They mean similar things. They mean that you've
First, I
taken
just
up.
want to compliment Chandan. Yeah, I just want to compliment Chandan for wherever he's getting all of these amazing idioms from, because
Yeah,
every question that he's asked it's amazing.
yeah.
But
They're
at the
great
same
idioms.
time, yeah, but
Yeah,
at the same time, these are not something that we use very often
yeah. It is difficult to use this, right, in our day-to-day language.
in our
Yeah,
conversations.
true, true. So, for example, it basically to both these idioms to burn the candle at both ends and to bite off more than you can chew basically means that you've taken up too much work and you can't handle it, or you have too many responsibilities, you've taken them up and you can't manage them. And please note, this is about something that you do by choice. Mostly these are used to explain something where you have done this by choice. That, for example, if you have signed up for 10 classes in a day, that means you have taken up something. It's not that your college has given you 10 classes a day. So if you're talking about something that you have chosen, you have selected and taken up too much, then you would use these. I had one tip to share with everybody. Like you said about wrapping your head around something, to remember idioms, to understand their context, the best way to do it is to visualize it, to actually visualize what it's saying, right? Say, for example, to wrap your head around, like actually imagine your mind going around all this information, like wrapping paper around a gift. You actually imagine it like that. Imagine yourself, there's a snake in the bush, but instead of catching the snake, you're just beating the bush and running around. Yeah. So if you visualize it like this, you'll remember them much more. So that's something that's a tip to
Yeah, even
remember
something
meanings
as
of
common as
difficult.
yeah, even something as common as cost an arm and a leg. You could actually, put a little thought into it, and you can imagine what.
True. It is like giving, you can imagine cutting off your arm and your leg at the store to pay for something. So you can definitely remember it like
What
that.
can it be? Has a question. What can
Yeah.
be better ways of saying, please subscribe? Okay.
Specified question for Shambhavi.
That's a good question, Katie. Okay. As opposed to what you may think, it actually has a lot of other better ways to say it. And Keesha, we should try it. Thank you, Katie, for pointing this out, because we just keep saying, please
Please subscribe.
subscribe. Yeah. So if you are requesting someone for a favor or for anything, wherever you're using the word please, there are numerous ways to substitute that with other phrases and words. For example, you could just say, if you don't mind, could you please subscribe to the channel? Or you could say, it would be so good if you could subscribe to the channel. Or even if
Yeah.
it could be as simple as asking someone for a pen. Do you mind sharing your pen with me? It just sounds better than please give me your pen. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. And also, sadly, because subscribe is a technical term for YouTube. To explain what that is, it's very difficult to substitute the word subscribe. It's a
Yeah.
very technical term so that people understand it. I have seen some videos where people say things like hit the subscribe button or hit the bell button for notification. So you can say things like that as well. But subscribe is a technical term which we can't really replace all the way.
Right. I can see two new questions. Chandan's is hanging in there and Ashraf's is all the way. Both of these, as we just said, you can just imagine hanging in
Yeah,
there. What could it mean? It couldn't have a lot of meanings. If you ask someone, how are you just hanging in there? Because
yeah,
they're just hanging, they're balancing things. They are they continue to do things despite whatever's going on. So they're just there, they're hanging, they're balancing. It's that.
yeah.
um
It's difficult to, they aren't completely on solid ground. They aren't comfortable. They're just barely managing to stay in there, is what it means. Okay, and all the way means that he's come a
yes.
very,
All, yeah, just
yeah,
that. When I
far away.
say all the way, so
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. So let's take this last question from Himanshu and then wrap up. The question is all this while. So thank you for listening to us all this while and paying attention to us and asking us questions and sending us questions in the chat. So that's what all this while means. So how all this way means you've come a very far way, you've covered a long distance. All this while means you've covered a long time, you've been there for a good amount of time. So that's what all this while.
Yeah, it just means something that's consistent, that's, that's happening continually. So
Yeah. Yeah. Chandan has asked, what could I reply in this situation when someone says hanging in there? Depends on what you would like to respond with. Basically, she's saying that she's just about managing. She's having a hard time. It's difficult, but managing is what she's saying to you. So you could say just, well, that it's it's difficult, but I'm sure it'll get better. You can give them hope. You can, if you are also in a similar position, you could agree.
yeah, you can be a little encouraging.
Yeah.
And just think of what you would reply if she said the exact same thing in your mother tongue. You know the idiom, you understand it. What if someone
Yeah.
tells you the exact same thing in your mother tongue? What would you reply then? And yeah, it's just that.
So you could say hanging in there. So you could even say hang in there. It gets better. You could say, yep, I totally feel you. I'm hanging in there too. I'm just about managing. So you have that option. So yeah, those are the types of things you could say as a response. Okay. So again, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. If you have any doubts, there are lots of videos that we have. We have lots of lives that we put up very, very often. We do this every Friday. So even if you miss it live, do go and watch it later. You never know what might be useful. As I'm ending this, I see a few more questions coming in, just about trickling in. So I'm just going to answer them very quickly. Himanshu says falling into place. That means things are working out. Things are going right. Things were messy. They were not working out. Something was confusing. Something was going a little haywire, not happening correctly, and it's all falling into place. It's going the right way, in the right direction, the way you want it to. So that's what falling into place means. Give him a huge round of applause is where we want to give you a huge round of applause for asking us such wonderful questions in the live today, and look like $1 million means that they look very good. Like if I showed you $1 million, I'm pretty sure you would think it looks very nice. So if someone looks like $1 million or $1 million, that means that they are also looking very, very nice. So those are a few things that you have asked, and we will be back. I can see that there are a lot of questions about idioms, and we also have a lot to share about idioms that you can use more often on your own and in your daily life. So we will come back and we will
Falling
answer
into
all your questions really soon. So Shambhavi, I was just telling everybody that I'm sure we need to do a second live on idioms, and
idioms are
everyone can
great.
bring in more questions. Yeah. And we'll share
And
some
also, you
more.
guys can tell us what would you like us to talk about in our lives. We would
Yeah.
love to invite suggestions from you. So you can tell us right now. You
Yes.
can comment in the video later. But please tell us what would you want us to talk about in our lives. So
Yep.
that's about it.
Yes. So, yep, I usually end with a quote or giving you some sort of inspiration whenever I come live. So, Shambhavi, I'm going to speak for the two of us and give them a little bit of
Okay.
inspiration. Since we both are bookworms and we always are reading books, this is a quote by Anne Frank, one of the youngest and best authors I've come across for sure. So she says this, and I hope this gives you motivation, makes
Yes,
you feel
absolutely.
a little more motivated about your English journey, your general journey of growth. She says, what a wonderful thought it is that some of the best days of our lives we have not even happened yet. Sorry, so I'm going to repeat that. What a wonderful thought it is that some of the best days of our lives have not even happened yet. So there are two ways to look at it. That if you feel this is bad, possibly you could have worse days in your future. And if you think this is good, there's something even better coming. So if you're a half like glass half full kind of person and the positive person, you'll see that for sure there are things that will get better. There's a lot happening around us and things will definitely get better. So keep working on your English. We're here to support you, to help you. Let us know how we can do that better. And we are so happy to spend this time with you on a Friday, and we'll
Yes,
see.
it's always a pleasure chatting
Yeah.
with you guys, meeting you. And of course, we would love to do that all the more. So keep engaging, keep being with, like,
Yes. Yes, we
keep
will
joining
definitely.
our lives, keep asking questions, getting them answered. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you very soon. If you have any grammar questions, we'll do a live on grammar really soon, on grammar doubts. We've done one before, so you can go and look at that. But if you still have a few more, you can come back and we'll do some of those questions. And if you have more idioms to discuss, we'll definitely come back and discuss that as well. So next time we put up a post on Instagram saying that we're going live, hurry to the comments and tell us what you want to see, what topics you want, what you want us to
Yes.
discuss, answers you want us to give, and we'll definitely give them in our lives. So thank you so much. Have a nice weekend. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I hope you have a good weekend.
Yeah, have a good weekend. See